Aeneas Demetrius Williams was a dominant corner and safety for 14 NFL seasons. He was opportunistic, hard-hitting, and a fearless leader for his teams. Today, Aeneas leads from the front with great passion and great vision. He's a promise keeper for the younger generation and those less fortunate. Where there's a need, you will find Aeneas Williams. And I have to tell you guys out there, I'm so honored to have my Hall of Fame brother on Great Dane Nation. Aeneas, welcome to the show. And I want to start by saying how much I enjoyed our time in LA together. We shared a car service from the hotel to a Hall of Fame function. And like you just said to me, that conversation was solution-driven, man.
Right.
But it has to start with intent and with purpose. And when I say that in the intro, when I say that you're a promise keeper, I really mean it, because you make big commitments to people, and then you keep the commitment, you keep the promise. What is that? Something that's always been inside of you, Aeneas, or was that an acquired taste?
Well, first, Morten, thanks for having me, man. And I appreciate those conversations, because I learned a lot about your mentality and how you approach the game. And a lot of times I hadn't had a whole lot of conversations with punters or place kickers.
Right.
And to hear your mentality and how you approach the game in a systematic way, it really, what you share with me will parlay into any field of endeavor and in life. When it comes down to keeping promises, that started with my dad and mom and them modeling integrity, them modeling and requiring that me and my two older brothers were held accountable for doing what we say and doing also what they told us to do and doing it in the right way.
Yeah.
So it started at home.
Yeah, and home was New Orleans, and that's another part that we have in common. I spent 13 years there. You grew up in New Orleans and played high school ball there. And were you a big Saints fan? Was that
Absolutely.
the team?
Yes, I sold popcorn, peanuts, and Cokes in the Dome.
Is that right?
Absolutely, man. I played my high school games because you're familiar with City Park and Ted Gormley Stadium.
Yes.
Our team in high school, we were so good, we sold out Ted Gormley and we had to start playing in the Superdome. So New Orleans and the Saints, even though they weren't winning a whole lot of games at that time, when I was selling popcorn, peanuts, and Cokes, when you guys came along with the Pat Swillings and Sam Mills and all of those guys, that's when the team really, even while I was in college, still one of the teams that's near and dear to my heart.
Did you have a favorite player? You know, the right answer is
Yours truly.
Did you have a favorite Saints player that you kind of had, maybe on the defensive side of the ball? Or
man, I'm thinking about that with the Saints. All the guys that I got a chance to see, a guy that comes to my mind is Torry Cook.
Yeah,
who played cornerback. Yeah, and went to University of Stanford. So as a defensive back, I always paid attention to defensive backs, particularly on the Saints team as well.
Football wasn't really on your radar screen. I mean, that's the thing. You went to Southern University, but you went there for another reason. It wasn't football. You wanted to get an accounting degree, and I think that came from your parents as well, that this thing, what it was all about was the academics. And it wasn't until your junior year that a guy talked you into playing ball at Southern.
And you're exactly right. One of the things, I've given my life to Jesus Christ, Morten, my junior in college. And my parents sent me and my two older brothers to church when we were growing up, but it never made sense. I never had a relationship with Christ. I was just going to church because a lady would come around and pick the three of us up along with other kids and take us to church. But it never made sense. And around my junior year in college, I said, God, if you're real, show me how you relate to us in everyday life. So I gave my life to Christ. And two things I just remember distinctly hearing in my heart. Number one, I'm a God of purpose. Everything has a purpose, including human beings. And I speak to human beings a lot of times through their hearts. Going back to my parents, I never had, and my two older brothers, I never had to look outside my house for a role model. And my dad's the first college graduate on both sides of the family. And we're one of the few minorities that has a florist license in the state of Louisiana. So my brother was the CEO and chief of the florist business. And after my senior year, even though we had a very good team, I was a captain. I wasn't recruited hardly at all coming out of high school for football.
Right.
I had an opportunity to go to Dartmouth, but turned it down because it was too far away from home. And my dad had gone to Southern University, and my brother, who was my idol, Achilles, who's a CPA today, he's the accounting guy.
What a name.
Yeah, exactly.
What a wild, I mean, come on, Achilles?
Those names came from my dad, Morten. My dad's name is Lawrence George Williams. Very common last name. And during that time when he was growing up, he had a common first name. So he had times when kids in his classroom had the exact same name. So he knew while studying Greek mythology while in college, he wanted to give us unique names because we had the common last name. And so going back to football, I decided, I wasn't recruited, decided, hey, I'm going to Southern University. I get to be in an apartment with a junior in college. I'm a freshman, Morten. I graduated in May from Forshey. I'm in summer school in June in an apartment. Man, I'm living my best life. And I wasn't thinking about football at all. And it really was my dad just reminding us that education gives you opportunities.
Yeah.
And so all I did was go to Southern, and literally everything my brother Achilles did is what I did. He majored in accounting, I did. He was involved in Student Government Association. I was as well. And he was my idol. And so even though I don't like numbers, I have a degree in accounting because of Achilles. And it was, Morten, a turning point around a time I gave my life to Christ. This was going into my junior year, the summer before my junior year. During that spring, prior to that summer, I had interviewed with companies to get an internship in accounting during the summer. And Cargill, Fortune 500 company, headquarters in Minneapolis, they interviewed me on the campus of Southern University. And then I got a second interview, a plant visit. And typically, when you get a plant visit, a lot of times as a foregone conclusion, you're going to get an opportunity to get the internship. But I did the plant visit, and to my surprise, I get a letter, and it says, we will not offer you an internship this summer. You could try again next summer. So I was down, sad. This goes back to purpose. It was that actual summer, a week before the season started, my junior year, that I walked on a football team. And if I had gotten an internship, I would have never walked on a football team.
Yeah, defining moments that come in your life, and you have to recognize them. And when we're young, we have that youthful oblivion. Sometimes we don't know that they're defining moments. But at least you had the sense, and you also had a little bit of push from Maurice Hurst. Why Maurice Hurst, do you think, was chosen to be the impetus and the catalyst for you choosing football, or at least helping you, nudging you? What was it that Maurice said to you that convinced you, or was it a higher purpose?
One, so when I walked on, I had no idea that certainly I can ever play in the National Football League. Maurice Hurst, one grade ahead of me. He was on full scholarship at Southern University.
Yeah.
Maurice is the guy that if there's a picture, if we put in a dictionary of a cornerback, I would have put Maurice. So I finished in 86, Maurice finished in 85, and then there's one other gentleman by the name of Kevin Lewis, who graduated in 84. Kevin was also a full scholarship football player at Northwestern State in Natchitoches, Louisiana.
Bobby Hebert's school.
Exactly. And he was also valedictorian of the graduating class, of which my brother Achilles was in his class. So, Martin, when I walked on, those two guys are the guys that were extremely athletic, very intelligent, and all I did was reach out to them to find out where they were working out and show up whenever I found out they were working out and just trailed them. I was always behind them in the drills, always trying to lose weight, trying to act like them. And that was the summer I learned the power of mentorship.
Yeah.
And a mentor are credible success for others who've already done well what you're trying to do. So following them literally, I also found out the power of environment. Getting in the environment with them, even though I had my doubts, even though when I was going against receivers who were coming back to New Orleans to train at Tulane during the summer, guys who were coming from college who were from New Orleans during the summer break, and those guys that had a break that were in the NFL, that break between OTAs and training camp, everybody came to New Orleans that was from New Orleans and worked out at Tulane.
Yeah.
Archie Manning dropped Peyton Manning off at Tulane to come out there and throw balls as a quarterback while he was in high school. And all I did was emulate those guys. And eventually, all of a sudden, it begins to get in my mind and my heart that it's possible that I could play in the National Football League.
And you certainly did. I wonder what your life looks like if you don't choose football, if Maurice Hurst and those guys didn't mentor you. What do you think? You're an accountant today? Is that where you would have ended up, you think?
That's the outstanding principle of hard work, because my parents modeled hard work. That's what we were required to do. From washing dishes to cleaning rooms, digging things, raking leaves, hard work. So what would have happened, I would have been an outstanding accountant, but I probably just not would have been as fulfilled.
Yes, that's right. You chose wisely, my friend, and it's nice to have a plan B in case it doesn't work out, right? So,
yeah, no doubt at all. And as I said, you go Kevin and Maurice, but also you go Malcolm, who's my oldest brother, and Achilles. Those guys really inspired me as well.
Well, there's a lot of people out there that inspire, and I'd like to get your take on these high-profile former NFL players taking head coaching jobs in the HBCU ranks. You have Deion Sanders with Jackson State and Eddie George with Tennessee State. Are you next, Aeneas?
No, Martin, that's not my calling, but it certainly is. I've had conversation with Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken with Eddie George, but to see him take the Tennessee State job. Also, Eddie Robinson, that has taken, I think, the Alabama State job, if I'm not mistaken. Those guys, a lot of people don't know, many of them have coached at lower levels. I know Deion Sanders have been coaching high school for quite some time.
Yep.
But after the George Floyd deal, it really was almost like I don't know, a voice crying out in our country, hey, everyone, it's time to rally behind equality. It's time to pay attention that it was a horrific situation in our history, but because it was COVID, everybody got a chance to see it. But what parlayed from it was all of a sudden the brilliance of people that had attended historical Black colleges and university, like me and my wife and my dad and brother, that we had already, Southern University prepared me, Martin, to be successful and dominate on and off the field. And a number of people that had come from those institutions are dominating in their field of endeavors around the world. So what the spotlight allowed to happen was for the recognition of HBCUs, they were not a sub school. They were HBCUs. These were universities and colleges that were producing outstanding African Americans that are in leadership throughout our country, starting just with the vice president, Kamala Harris, but many more that are far more well known than myself besides sports. So to see players now, instead of just automatically going to the bigger schools, to even consider going to our HBCUs and have an opportunity to be in that environment, because it's unique. It's nothing like that experience. It's nothing like many HBCUs also were geared and still is toward first generational students in college and universities. And there's a certain type of nurturing and cultural context that's needed to help give that generation of young people confidence.
Confidence and hope. The greatest thing we can give people is the opportunity to dream and to hope for better times. I had a kid at Buford High School here recently that I mentored, and he was a kicker, and they won the state championship. He ended up going to Jackson State on a full scholarship, so he's going to be kicking for Deion Sanders his freshman year. So I'm excited for him. Hispanic kid. Excited to see what life brings him. It's it's amazing. It's a small world, and everybody's connected. Everybody's connected. So what comes back to me always is hope. How can we provide an opportunity for people that are either less fortunate or can't see it yet, can't see that there's light? We have to be the light, not the shadow. And I don't care what color, race, whatever you are. The human potential is limitless as long as we, guide and give hope.
And the word that you're using, Martin, is so important. Is the word hope, because when young people from different parts of our country, when they become hopeless people
are dangerous,
are extremely dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And it behooves all of us. I just attended, I guess about a month ago, the first NFL HBCU combine.
Mm-hmm.
And people ask me about it. Well, the scenario I use, or the parallel, is if you allow HBCU students to have an opportunity to be showcased in front of every team and their scouts like they were, all the NFL is continually doing is consistently being able to fish in other ponds. Because if all we continue to do going forward is stay in the bigger schools, the bigger logos on the helmet, but don't pine our HBCU schools, we're potentially missing some of the hidden gems.
No question.
Because they may not be on national TV every week, or you may not know their names. Like myself, even though I end up going to the regular combine, had that opportunity. But a number of our student athletes, what we find out from HBCUs, when they did make it to the NFL, many did not attend the combine, and many of them were signed as free agents. And probably
Yes.
a number of them could have gotten drafted if they had an opportunity to showcase what they can do.
Yeah, you're making a very valid point, and that's my hope too. Trust your hopes, not your fears, and blaze trails. That's like what you did. Here's a guy that blazed some trails. Lovie Smith. I mean, how excited are you for this? For your old defensive coordinator getting another head coaching opportunity at the NFL level, and what makes him so great? What makes Lovie great?
You asked me a question earlier. You said, which player on the Saints team do you remember when you were growing up? And I told you Torry Cook.
Yeah.
Well, if you ask me, who's one of the coaches that had the most profound, or one of the best coaches you've ever had, hands down, Lovie Smith. And what makes Lovie successful is not only his ability to motivate players, but his ability to motivate us in such a way that there's a high level of respect for each and every one of us. And his calm demeanor and his ability to still hold you accountable, even though there's not profanity. He doesn't have to curse you out. You don't have to do anything that removes the dignity from the player. And that's Coach Lovie Smith. And to see him have this opportunity, because he did a very good job as a defense coordinator last year with Coach Curley, and the team was just, man, they're still working through a number of things with the Deshaun Watson situation.
Yeah.
But for Lovie to get this job, have this opportunity, I'm excited for him, and I'm rooting for him to be successful.
What's your take on the Deshaun Watson situation? Do you have a take on that?
Nothing other than it's a dubious situation. It's ongoing. It's unusual. It's kind of like in the NBA, the Ben Simmons deal. I mean, you literally have teams paying players, but it's literally you don't know what's actually happening with them, and the investment is not being utilized because of obviously Ben Simmons' mental health situation. We take that very seriously, and Deshaun from some of the decisions he's made.
Yeah.
But hopefully, as talented as he is, and the person that he is, hopefully he learns from this and goes on and able to, and I pray for the victims and everybody that was impacted negatively by it. But we also are a country that if a person has penitence and contrition, we're people that give people second chances and opportunities. So that's what I'm hoping happens with that situation.
And then, another current situation with a player right now is Calvin Ridley here in Atlanta. That's getting a lot of airtime. Of course, some mental health issues maybe, and then some gambling. Not a lot of money, but nevertheless, pulling the trigger on some parlays and part of $1,500, part of the team he was employed by. What is your your take on that whole Calvin Ridley situation, Aeneas?
Well, one, Calvin Ridley, and unfortunately for the young man in Las Vegas with the car accident, just unfortunate situations. When it comes down to Calvin and mental health, number one, so glad the league has set it up where he can at least sit out and get the help he needs. As it relates to the gambling, you know this, Martin, in every locker room you go in, you're going to see this document on the wall of every. So
don't cross this line.
Don't cross the line. It's like a crater. Maybe they should put a crater right underneath it. This is, and put some injured person in that crater.
Yeah.
If you do this, but when it comes down to all of those kind of things, Martin, when you're young, the best thing that I hope colleges and universities are doing this is to persuade young people to get people around them that could speak into their lives.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I share with my children. It doesn't mean mom and dad will always be right. However, our voice should be a voice that when everybody else is talking, even if you're in a mall, you should be able to hear our voice. And a lot of times, young people, when we're making decisions, we don't have somebody around us that can speak into our lives in an honorable way, but just remind us, because all of us are capable of doing unwise things when we're by ourselves, when we're alone, when we are not thinking. And that's why it's so important to have people around us that are thinking, and hopefully older, that can now challenge us when we're younger.
I hope the Cardinals are figuring out and thinking what they're going to do. What they're going to do with Kyler Murray's contract. He's still on his rookie deal, and he's obviously a big piece to their success. Talk to me about the Cardinals. They came out red hot, and then a whole different team in the second half of the season. What happened?
Well, there's a lot that happens. One of the teams, before I talk about the Cardinals, I think that has a what I call a switch in the latter part of the season for a long time has been the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick.
Mm-hmm.
And then we saw Tom Brady bring that to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something that changes in the month of November. And that something has to be understood by Coach Kingsbury, as well as the entire organization. What needs to happen differently when you get into the latter part of the season? Mm-hmm. Because it's obvious the first parts, they're showing that they're capable of being
rolling.
Very good, right?
Oh.
So now you do self-correction, self-evaluation, And you find those teams that have consistently over the years been good in the second half of the season, and then begin to communicate with them and ask questions just like you did. I would imagine Coach Kingsbury did that before he came into the NFL. Kyler Murray is a unique, special talent. And as it relates to pay, there are guys that get released who are owed money, and they get released. So if there are guys that believe, like a Kyler Murray, that their value is such and that the compensation should happen now, then he has a right to challenge it. But also Michael Bidwell and the Cardinals have a right to decide if they're going to acquiesce to it. I believe each of them are intelligent in that it will be an amenable deal that will be worked out, and it'll end up, it's the media and baseball. They finally got a deal done, but this is the quiet season, and all of these kind of conversations like Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay.
I know.
All of these things continue to keep the viewers engaged. But Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, they will get the situation worked out.
Maybe they franchise him. That's a nice big tag for a 4-year player, 4-year player, right? I mean, and then he's eligible to do something in 23. I mean, the franchise is a big number. I forget what, 20 something.
It is. But when you're dealing with your quarterback, the psyche of a quarterback is extremely important. That's why we rarely see quarterbacks ever franchise.
Right.
That's like last resort. Typically, you're able to work and get situations worked out and get signing bonus or guarantees. Like Cousin has really kicked open the door when it comes down to guaranteed contracts, at least. And his was, I think, all 3 years guaranteed.
Yeah.
So the Cardinals and Kyler, they'll get something worked out.
So you mentioned Coach Kingsbury. Is he the right man for the job, in your opinion?
Well, he's proven that he can win. He's proven that.
We want to go.
Yeah,
in the postseason.
Well, no doubt. But you also,
they look tired to me, Aeneas. They look tired at the end of the season. They look banged up and tired. That's what they look like to me.
And that's where the maturation, because firing a coach is like starting over again, Morten.
Yeah, it is.
And do you think Cleveland would take Belichick back today?
I'm not going to touch that one, man.
No, my point is, you give.
I mean, I think they're happy with their guy, but yeah.
I'm saying that they are happy with the coach they have now. That my point was being patient with a coach that's showing signs.
Oh, right, yeah.
Of being able
potential
there,
sure,
and not firing a guy because you didn't make the postseason versus collaboration and find out why are we tailing off at the end. As I said earlier, that's the most important thing, because firing a coach, man, is like, it's Morten. I assume you've been on teams where the coach got fired.
Yeah,
it's starting over.
Well, I mean, I don't know in Jacksonville if they feel that way with Urban Meyer. I think that was a situation where you had to.
Well, there's no sign. There was no sign. Like Kingsbury, we have evidence that he's done some things right.
Oh, yeah. That's my point. I mean, you get a one-off like an Urban Meyer who is made for college and who's clearly just not – he's not a football guy. He's not an X and O guy.
My dad – I'm sorry, Martin. My dad makes a statement. He said people fail for 3 reasons: wrong thinking, wrong priorities, and wrong motivation. So when Coach, and I don't want to speak for Coach Urban Meyer, but when he was being considered to be hired for the Jacksonville Jaguars, what was the motivation? What was the motivation behind it? We know he was down at Florida, right? Why did he accept the job, and why did you offer him the job? And a lot of that has to do with making decisions that sometimes we regret. Not saying that Jacksonville did that. That's just a principle that my dad has helped me live by.
Yeah, I like that. That's great wisdom, man. I'm gonna write those down. Talk to me about Budda Baker's game at safety for the Cardinals. What do you like about him?
He can do it all. He's one of those guys like a Rodney Harrison, and he can be in a box. He can cover,
Mhm.
and he can sack the quarterback. So you have I don't know if I call it a three-tool player. He can intercept the ball, so four-tool player. I probably could think of a fifth, but he can do it all. He's a leader, and he is the attitude of the defense of the Cardinals, and that's what I've seen with Bruder. Great, great, great player.
Yeah. Another great player that, is with the Rams, and you were with the Rams, of course, at the end of your tenure. Aaron Donald, talk to me about that guy, right? He's dominating. What do you think about the way the guy plays football? I mean, and how much would you have loved to play with a guy like him as the anchor in the middle of that defense? Could have been kind of fun, whether you were a corner or a safety. Makes everybody look better.
No, it's one thing to have an outstanding pass rush on the outside. It's a whole nother thing when you have a special guy on the inside who gets in the quarterback face. Aaron Donald, watching him over the years, besides, he should not have a 5-year wait when he retires for the Hall. He should just
direct pipeline.
Let's get him right in. There should be certain guys we just put him right in, right?
Yeah, I got you.
Cancel the 5-year wait. But his ability to stay focused, stay healthy. He has a mean streak. I call anger under control. His intelligence, his work ethic, and his ability to inspire the entire team. It's one of what I call a godsend to a team. When your best players, Tom Brady, New England, when your best players are able to toe the line and be ideally what you want to see in your players, it is the best of both worlds, and that's Aaron Donald.
He flipped a switch in the Super Bowl. They were losing. He pushed the guy out of bounds. Everybody pushed back on him, and it was all over. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, absolutely. I've heard Aaron Donald is so strong, Martin. I was told by Dave McGinnis when he coached with Jeff Fisher and they coached Aaron, that in practice, Aaron got into it with an offensive lineman. And I'm told that Aaron ripped the face mask off of the helmet. And Martin, they're screwed on there.
Oh, yeah.
They don't easily come off. He literally grabbed the face mask and ripped the face mask off of the guy.
That would not have been good with my face mask. I had 2 bars.
Yeah, he probably would have grabbed your teeth, man.
He'd have grabbed my face and pulled it through the face mask. Hey, man, that's what would have happened.
And that's what I like also, his tenacity. Because believe it or not, I can be a jovial, lighthearted person, but competitive excellence and a willingness to compete, going against guys like Michael Irvin. And one of Michael Irvin's, his traits was to try to totally intimidate and get defensive backs to bow down and be intimidated. And Michael didn't know where I grew up in New Orleans and what you have to do to come out the environments I came out of. Because he sees me probably with the green eyes, and and I'm smaller than him. So initially when I was a rookie, he tried to intimidate me. But what Aaron Donald has is competitive excellence and a tenacity to not take anything from anybody. And the good thing now, you can't cut guys anymore. So now he has even more of an advantage because there's no deterrent if you chop block him to slow him down. I'm glad they took it out the game. So it's literally skill, force, and intelligence going the entire time.
You were known as a vicious hitter, Aeneas, as well. I mean, you put a hit on Steve Young that basically ended his career. I don't want to say that, but I mean, he took a concussion and really never played again. Do you regret doing that, or where's your head on that one?
Well, one, my head was not in the game. I hit it with my shoulder pads. It would have been a legal.
Oh, I read it was okay.
No, you can go see it on YouTube. It's a legal hit. all shoulder pads. And by
Okay.
the way, I've gotten a video, Martin, from our
Okay.
fellow Hall of Famer, Steve Young.
Okay.
Out of about 5 years, I went up to him at the hall during induction week.
Mhm.
I said, Steve, I need your help. He said, what do you need? I said, I need for you to tell your 49er fans that I did not end your career. I need you because everywhere I go, I'm being haunted and I need security. The 49er fans have said, I ended their dynasty because I took Steve Young out. Then Steve began to tell me, he says, Aeneas, no, you didn't. Here's what you did, Aeneas. You allow me to not hang around indecisively like Brett did. Talking about
You
Brett
clarified it for.
Yeah, clarified moment. He said, I ended up marrying my beautiful wife,
Yeah.
and I got this awesome job with ESPN. So, Aeneas, you actually were a blessing to me. And I said, I need you to record this. So I'm going to record it. I need you to say this again. And Martin, I recorded it and I posted it on social media.
And now you can walk, you can roam freely in the across the Golden Gate and in San Francisco with no fear.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful thing. What perspective by Mr. Young, your Hall of Fame, our Hall of Fame brother. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just goes back, Martin, a lot of times when it comes down to the game of football, everything doesn't always go well.
No.
Just like life.
Oh, yeah.
And so some of the traits that we had to develop, perseverance,
Sure.
the ability to overcome a bad play or a bad kick,
Mm-hmm.
still go out and perform.
Yeah.
Those are traits that are needed in life because all of life is not all wins.
Yeah, that's right. You got to
Some
have
from our own doing, some from others, but that's just life.
Yeah.
And to have the ability to recover from setbacks and move forward, because when you go back out to kick a field goal, it didn't matter the kick before that. It was all in the moment, and it required total attention in the moment. And that's what I want to share to anybody that hears this podcast is that's what life is. And to not think that something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If there are some negative things that happen, sometimes they just happen and they're for you to grow and learn from them.
Not one good kick, one bad kick defines your ability as a kicker. Not one good play or bad play defines your ability as a safety or a corner. It's a marathon, and you have to look at the total body of work in order to make an assessment. That's
No
perspective.
doubt.
That's perspective. That's big picture stuff. That's what you learn with age. Comes wisdom and perspective. We don't know that when we're young. We think it's the end of the world when something goes bad or wrong. We just don't. It's called youthful oblivion. I say it all the time. But as we mature and we get some failures and we fail forward, as you and I spoke about failing forward, then you start getting some skins on the wall. And now you become a dangerous man because you got confidence.
Exactly. Martin, I think you and I can get into business together. I got a partnership idea that, think about it, Martin.
What you got?
We watched a lot of film.
Well, you more
Right.
than me, but
Yeah,
I watch some. Yeah.
You had to watch film. You had to watch film, I would think, when you were practicing.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Of kicking, for sure.
Yes, right?
A lot.
So Martin, what if we come up with some kind of device where people can record their day and then go back and look at it and examine it like we had to do as professional football players?
Sure. Feedback. I like that. Performance feedback.
Yeah.
Whether it's a time capsule or whatever. Yeah. I like that.
I found out Sean McVay, one of the unique things that he's done with the Los Angeles Rams, you would notice when we practice on the field, after practice, we'd come in and then watch the film.
Yeah.
Coach McVay, I'm told, he has put a huge screen on the sideline right next to the practice field.
Watch it right away.
And they literally watch the play right away. Yeah. And then the veterans get to go home while the second team practice.
That's great.
That's fascinating.
I love that. That is time management, my friend.
Yes.
Hey, let me get
Yes.
your take on Jalen Ramsey. Living up to the hype or not so much?
Oh, he's the real deal.
Okay.
He is the real deal by far. In the Super Bowl, I don't even remember. I didn't see the exact play, but I'm told that the receiver pulled his face mask.
Yeah.
He gave up a play. I think he gave up a play to Jamar Chase as well.
Yes.
But that's going to happen. What I like to see is guys going back out competing.
Yeah.
And being able to forget. That's the greatness of a cornerback.
To your earlier point,
Exactly.
about one
Yes.
play doesn't define it. Let's go again. Here we go.
Yes, and that's and on in the biggest show, right? He gave up some big catches.
Yeah.
But he came back.
Yeah, he did.
And they won the game.
Yeah.
And that's what he's going to remember, hopefully.
When are we going to get Torry Holt into the Hall of Fame? Listen, Dick Vermeil going in this year. 6 different guys from the early 2000s are now members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Aeneas Williams, Dick Vermeil, now Orlando Pace, Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, and Kurt Warner. And the one guy currently missing from this group is Torry Holt. How special was he, and how deserving is he of a gold jacket?
He's deserving of a gold jacket. Special, very good route runner.
Yeah.
Exceptional with the ability to run by you. So he also had a presence with the deep ball and just the entire ability to cause defenses to have to focus on him, which also freed up Isaac Bruce from getting triple team because now young Torry began to take a lot of the attention off of Isaac.
Yeah. I hope we get him in. I really do. You played 3 seasons in the secondary with our American hero, and I'm a big military supporter. I'd love to hear you talk about that experience with Pat Tillman and what you thought when he enlisted and your emotions surrounding the tragic death of Pat Tillman.
Pat's a special man in my book.
Yeah.
I think it was valedictorian. He was Pac-10 Defensive Player of the Year. It may have been valedictorian at Arizona State.
Yes.
Or very well read, always reading.
Yeah.
Intimidated by no one. Wasn't impressed with the National Football League.
No.
I wasn't surprised that he left for a lucrative contract to go defend our country. That's the kind of person Pat is and was. And when I heard about the tragic passing of Pat Tillman, particularly every year we kind of think about the anniversary of his death. I don't know, I think it was last year, tears came to my eyes because we lost somebody that was a pillar in our country. Not just that he played in the National Football League, but the willingness to give it all up.
Yes.
And go defend our country. There should be a category where guys like Pat Tillman and what they've done get acknowledged in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
It's a really hard one for me to swallow. I gotta be honest with you. It really is. I do a golf event dinner every year for special ops here in Atlanta. And we invite those guys in, Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, Air Force Special Operation Command, Marines. And one of the things they all have in common, and that Pat had too, I met Pat on a couple occasions, played against him. Great special teams player, hard hitting, like you said, fearless.
Right.
Well, what they had in common, what I noticed anyway, was independent thought that maybe normal mortals don't have, but they were able to adjust, midstream adjust, like Frank Gans Sr. would used to say. Whatever scenario comes at you, you midstream adjust. That was Pat Tillman, that independent thought. Or whatever situation came across him, across his bow, he fired right back, and he was able to adjust and flourish. And he was an amazing man. He's going to be missed. I appreciate your sentiments on him. If you don't mind, I wouldn't mind just throwing a couple of names at you at the end here, Aeneas.
Yes.
People that you played with or against, and whatever comes to mind, It could be a word or a sentence, and
Okay.
we'll wrap it up. Then I have one listener question, if that's okay, and we'll get that and we'll finish up.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Larry Wilson.
Larry Wilson, ironically, Martin, he drafted me. He was the Cardinals general manager.
Mm-hmm.
And I always looked at Larry's statistics, particularly the interceptions, because I wanted to top him as a defensive back and get more interceptions than him. But watching his highlight tapes, being able to talk to Larry and knowing how he played the game, you're talking about hitter and the ability to intercept footballs. I think he played one game, I want to say with broken wrist or something like that. His tenacity was second to none. But he's also one of the few guys that was able to parlay his being a player into being NFL executive as a general manager with the Cardinals. And then a special place in my heart because Larry is the one that drafted me in the 3rd round.
Rob Ryan, he coached the corners, of course. Can you talk to me about Rob Ryan?
Rob Ryan, I can describe him as I learned from Rob the power of the transference of belief. Meaning, I was not out going into my 4th year, I was a restricted free agent. I was not going to sign back with the Cardinals after Buddy Ryan got the job. My wife was getting her MBA at the University of Illinois, and we were talking, and I told her, well, we may not go back to Arizona because they hired Buddy Ryan, and he's not a player's coach, which wasn't true at all. And as wives have a tendency to do, they ask more questions. But the truth was, Martin, I didn't think I could play in Buddy Ryan's system.
Why?
Which was putting a cornerback on an island. And I wasn't confident that I could do it. Now, how does that bring Rob Ryan into play? Rob and Rex, his brother, both of them were hired right out of college with their dads. And Rob, as soon as I signed back with my wife, challenged me that we can do this and don't let fear stop us.
Yeah.
And as soon as I went back to Arizona to sign back with the Cardinals, Rob Ryan put his arms around me, Martin, and he says, Aeneas, you can lead this league in interceptions. You can make the Pro Bowl and be all pro. He said, because Rob was at Tennessee State, he coached against me when I was at Southern. He said, you had 11 interceptions your senior year. You tied the national record for interceptions. You were voted Defensive Rookie of the Year with the Cardinals, and you can be all pro bowler. You can lead this league in interceptions. Rob got his dad to do something Coach Buddy Ryan had never done, and that was to assign me to the opposing team's best receiver. Prior to that, when Coach Buddy Ryan was in Chicago, when he was in Houston, he never, ever had a cornerback trail a receiver. Everybody was left and right. I was the first Revis Island.
Yeah, you were a shutdown corner.
And that happened because of the confidence of Rob putting his arms around me during that offseason.
That's beautiful.
And telling me what he believed I can do. And that's exactly what I did that year. I led the league in interceptions.
Yes, you did.
I made All-Pro, and I made the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, you made All-Pro 4 times. You made the Pro Bowl 8 times. Come on now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was right. He was right. He had the formula, and you just plugged yourself into the formula, and you excelled. It was great. Great to watch.
And that's the power of coaches or anyone that's listening, parents.
Yeah.
Kids will rise to expectation, or they will go lower because of low expectation. But either way, your expectations will be met.
Oh, I like that. Go to bed. Oh, man, that's good. Chris Chandler, who was my quarterback, of course, here in Atlanta. We had a Super Bowl run. Talk to me about Chris Chandler, a word that comes to mind.
I remember Chris, not a whole lot, because during that time I played with Boomer Esiason. It was a number of quarterbacks. Yeah. But remember Chandler coming in and having that veteran experience.
Yeah.
That's what I remember about Chris.
Yeah, he was fantastic here in Atlanta, I'll tell you that. Larry Centers. Oh, man, that's a good one.
Larry Centers is a Hall of Famer that revolutionized the fullback position.
Yes.
As relates to the multi-dimensional fullback.
Yeah.
Terrific runner, outstanding blocker, outstanding runner, and outstanding pass catcher. When they begin to look at the fullback position, even though the traditional fullback is pretty extinct, Larry Centers changed the game when it came down to a fullback. He should be considered and be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And another guy you didn't mention with the Rams that many may not remember, and his name is London Fletcher.
I've had him on my list, actually. Talk to me about London Sweat. Let's go.
Yeah. London Fletcher is a Hall of Fame linebacker. He's one of the best I played with on any team at any level. He was really the backbone of that Rams defense. People gave me some credit when I came, but that was already established before I got there. And the guy that I knew I can count on, who pretty much ran our defense, was London Fletcher.
You could count on him, and everybody could count on you, Aeneas. Everybody.
Thank you.
I'm going to close it out with a listener question from James on Twitter. You ready for this one?
Go, James. Let's go.
Let's go, James. What was wrong? This is James asking you now. What was wrong with Brett Favre in the 2001 divisional round when he threw 6 picks, including 2 pick sixes, courtesy of you? Is that the worst quarterback play you ever saw in a playoff game? James is going hard on Brett.
Wait, hold on, James. First,
hold on, James.
Brett is from Kiln, Mississippi, not too far from New Orleans, and not too far from where my wife is from, Slidell. Here's the first thing we need to know, James. Brett Favre and I are the only two out the 1991 NFL draft to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So that's my Hall of Fame, brother. The second thing is, it was just a bad day. And as you know, sometimes we have bad days. And it just so happened I was very fortunate to be a recipient of the bad day that he had in that divisional round. That's a nice diplomatic way of saying it. Yeah. And still edifying my good friend Brett Favre.
I don't think anybody ever disputed his greatness. And therein lies the great conundrum, mystery, beauty, fascination with the game of football. We can talk about the greatest players that ever played on this earth, and yet we can always find flaws. We can always find something that they did or didn't do that comes under scrutiny. But one thing, when I talk about Aeneas Williams, can never, ever dispute his character. Ever. And that's a beautiful thing, man.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I definitely have character flaws.
Well,
so I think the way you said it, I think it's God's way of showing every human being you are not me. I'm perfect. You all are not.
Yeah.
And always remember that. And you should always honor and respect each other on good and bad days. Because if you, a wise man taught me, he says, it's a dangerous thing to believe what people say about you when you know the reality about yourself. And so I appreciate those kind words, but I, like you, Martin, am still attempting to grow and learn.